What's up, guys? I'm doing my prediction show for UFC San Antonio. Leon Edwards versus Rafael dos Anjos. I'm gonna go down the card and basically give you, my predictions and who I think is gonna win. Rafael dos Anjos versus Leon Edwards. I think, I think Leon Edwards because he's on a 3 fight win streak. He's looked really impressive. I don't think it's gonna be an issue of him going up a weight class for Kevin Lee and dealing with that new weight. Um, I think he really impressed me in the against Gunnar Nelson, and he dropped him. He out grappled him. He looked really good in those in that fight. And Dos Anjos, if you look at some of his, he looked awesome against Neil Magny. I always give him that. He beat Neil Magny straight up. But Robbie, I don't know if he beat Robbie at his full potential. I'd like to see a rematch actually, see what would happen. And he got dominated against people like Colby and Kumar Usman. And I think Leon's one of those guys, just a world welterweight. He's gonna be bigger than him. He's gonna either, it will be interesting. They're. I don't think Leon's gonna try to take him down, but it's gonna be a good fight, and I think it's gonna be a lot of good pressure in that fight. But I'm going Leon. Um, then we got Olynyk versus Walt Harris. I'm going Walt Harris. Both guys are coming off. Well, Walt Harris is coming off a win against Andre Arlovski, and Olynyk is coming off a loss to Alistair Overeem. I don't know. I just lost faith in Olynyk. The way he was just taking knees to the face. I don't know. The way he fought Alistair Overeem, I just was really like, wow, this is kind of sad. Um, no disrespect to Olynyk, his jiu-jitsu is awesome. His pressure is, like it could end up, Walt Harris when he fought Verdum, he got he got tapped out quick. It could end up like that with Olynyk, but I think Walt has learned from it. He's younger. I know he's coming off that USADA exemption or whatever, but I think he's gonna take it. Next fight is Greg Hardy versus Juan Adams. I'm actually really interested to see how Greg Hardy deals with this kid. Juan Adams has a lot of you know, he comes from a wrestling background. He got really good body locks, and I've seen in his few highlights, and I think Juan can take it. But let me give respect to Greg Hardy's ability in, or his not his potential, because we don't see a lot of athletes, like a lot of great athletes, come into the UFC, and he's a good athlete. He's a great athlete actually, and I I think the problem is when we do see some athletes come in that are kind of athletic, they're not as tough as those guys like Eddie Alvarez and Justin Gage who aren't that athletic, right? They're not as tough as them. I think Greg Hardy has that potential to have two qualities, and he could show us what a tough athletic dude can do in the UFC. I think he has that ability, but I have Juan Adams. It's at first I think it's experience, and I think the wrestling is gonna get him. Um, but yeah, Juan's probably gonna take him down for sure. And they got some beef, man. Juan hates him. Juan said he hates him, and he's been talking a lot of smack on Twitter. So I got Juan in that one. Next fight I'm actually super excited for is James Vick versus Dan Hooker. Both guys have a lot to prove. Both guys coming off from losses. Dan to Edson Barboza, Vick to Paul Felder. Vick coming off from a knockout to lose the decision is not as bad. But I was like, he looked hesitant. He backed up. He had his chin up. I didn't like the way he was fighting. And I'm a big believer in Vic. I actually had him against Gaethje, and he got knocked the fuck out. Um, you know, maybe the spotlight was too bright on him that day. I don't know what happened. But I'm a believer in Vic. I now Dan's a killer though, and I nothing against Vic, but I got Dan Hooker in this, man. What I saw him do to Jim Miller and how tough the guy is. He's so fucking tough. Man, he pushed Edson Barboza to the absolute limit. You know? He pushed that motherfucker to the limit. And Dan took a beating, man. Took a beating. And a lot of people say it's. I want to see what Dan looks like. Vic might beat him based on the fact that that was such a career altering fight. It has the potential to be that for Vic. But I think he has that kickboxing toughness, and those guys I think he comes back. I think Dan Hooker gets it done, and I think he beats Vic. Uh, Alex Hernandez versus Francis Trinaldo. This is interesting. If you don't remember Francis, he got choked out by Kevin Lee, I think. And Alex is the guy that got murked by Cowboy after talking all that smack on that press conference. Uh, I'm a believer in Alex Hernandez. Actually, I saw him in his first fight when he fought Beneil Dariush, and me and my friends, and the prelims were super boring. So, and usually we're not paying attention to the prelims. We usually only pay attention to like the main card fights. Uh, but this one was absolutely bananas. He knocked Beneil Dariush the fuck out. He caught him so good. He knocked him out. Beneil tries to shake his hand. He was not having none of it. He comes in there hype. He comes in there full emotion. He comes in there with 110%. That's what I like about the guy. He beat Olivier, I think the Canadian guy. I can't really say his name, but he beat him, and then it was just not like Cowboy's really good with those kind of guys that aren't necessarily really good with. No, I shouldn't say that. Cowboy just was bigger than him. Honestly, I think that's where it came down to. Cowboy just he outmuscled him in the wrestling. He out pressured him. He outdid everything. Like he was the bigger man. So I think I got Alex Hernandez versus Francis Ronaldo. I think they're kind of like the same size. So and I like Alex got a little buzz cut. So I think and that was a bad loss for him. So I think he takes it. I think Alex takes it. Next fight is Andre Arlovski versus Ben Rothwell. Ben lost his last fight actually. Andre lost his last fight too. Uh, and this is I think a rematch. Yeah, from Affliction. Yeah, so I oh man, this is hard. Both of them are kind of like past their prime. Ah, I think yeah, Ben Rothwell, not Ben. Andre Arlovski beat him the first time. I, you can never count out Andre. He makes those crazy fucking comebacks, man. So I think I'm gonna go Andre Arlovski. The guy that beats you the first time usually has for some weird reason, the mental advantage. So yeah, I'm gonna go Andre Arlovski. Next fight is Alex Crisis versus Steve Pearson. I think Alex Crisis was the guy that lost to Crone Gracie. And Steve, I'm not sure who Steve Pearson is, but I'll go Alex Crisis. Um, Raquel Pennington's back actually, and she's fighting Irene Adelina. I don't go Raquel, and I think she's gonna use her wrestling to win that fight. Um, what's the next fight? Sam Alvey's fighting on this card. That's awesome. Versus Kitson Aru. I'm a big fan of Sam Alvey. I love that guy. He's awesome, man. I'm gonna go Sam Alvey. Uh, Roxanne Modafferi versus Jennifer Me. I like Roxanne. She's a nice person, and I'm gonna go Roxanne. Ray Borg, he's awesome, bro, and it's such a sad thing to see or hear that he can't fight due to eye issues or whatever, and he's trying to support his kid or whatever. So, man, I'm gonna go Ray Borg, and brother, I hope you win that fight. I hope you get a bonus too. Mario Batista versus Jinso Sun. I don't know most of these guys, but I like the name Batista, so I'm gonna go with him. Uh, yeah, I think I got them all out. Yeah, so yeah, that's my prediction show. This is a really good card. I think you guys should check it out. I think it's even better than last week's card. They got a lot of great fights, a lot of good big names, a lot of guys that are super. They're not in the UFC yet as the top guys, but they have so much potential to be the top guys. And man, Leon Edwards versus Rafael dos Anjos is going to be a war. And I think we're out of that one. I think we're going to end up seeing the title challenger or the second guy to fight for the title. All right, see you guys. And I think the next show is UFC 240 Frankie versus Max, and that's going to be a banger. I'm going to give you guys my prediction on that.